kind of a side of the dump. I had to go kind of 4x4ing in here, but it's pretty busy. Have to come help my mom out at my grandma's house, but kind of slow right now. I wanted to talk about, like, this is kind of a new channel, so I'm kind of getting, you know, it's gonna be kind of whack because it's my first video. But I have my own truck. I'm an owner operator, and from what I've seen, the rates are just, you know, within the past couple months or maybe 3 months, the rates just shot down. They're like cut in half. And I was warned by a broker from a big company, and I don't want to mention any big companies because big brokering companies, because I don't know the liability of mentioning them. But I mean, if you're an owner operator and you deal with and you pretty much dispatch your own loads, or you kind of go through a dispatcher, or you go to the brokers, you're gonna know which brokers I'm pretty much talking about, because there's only a few, or you know, there's a handful of the big ones. And this has to do with the little ones too. They've been taking advantage of a lot of the owner operators, you know. And if you calculate everything, what they're paying you, the rate per mile, it's not going to add up unless you want to make less than minimum wage or pretty much nothing, because our expenses are so high. Our tires, I barely put on some new tires on my trailer, and I already have 2 flats, you know. And those are expensive tires. Those are top of the line tires. So basically I have to go back and get my used tires and put those back on. So that's basically a loss. Diesel is expensive as hell, you know. You know, it's crazy. But you know, there's some places where you're going 2,000 miles and they're paying you $1,500, and these guys are taking them. And I don't know if they're doing it to pay for their diesel, but they're basically cutting themselves short from going from one place to another. So now, before, if you get a good rate going, let's say up north, or going to Arizona or going to Texas, you'd go for the lower rate coming back. Well, now they want to go and cut you off on going there and coming back, so you're cutting yourself short. And we have too many regulations and everything else going on for us to be taking less than minimum wage, you know. And they can't say, oh, this is the market rate right now, $2 a mile or whatever. It's going to cost us $1 a mile just pretty much in diesel, especially if you're taking a heavy load. And it's going to cost more if you're going uphill. And you owner operators know that. I'm not talking about company drivers, because I was a company driver for a long time, and you're just using the company's fuel card. You're using so you don't know what's going on that. I mean, when you're doing it by yourself, you know, you're going to be hurting.
Sit tight for a bit, boss.
Thank you.
That truck's pulling out. That gray one.
Okay, thank you. So, you know, we're not dealing with COVID rates, because supposedly their excuse was, hey, you know, it could be COVID rates or the market. That has nothing to do with that, because we're not at COVID rates. We weren't at COVID rates, you know. So whoever, like, let's say a load going from Fontana or Los Angeles to Sacramento, they're gonna try to hit you at 600, 800 to 1,000. Well, that's gonna be around 400 miles away. So you're gonna estimate your diesel is gonna be, your diesel alone is gonna be around you know, $400 or $500. You know, their calculator is gonna tell you like it's gonna cost you 200, but they know what they're doing. Remember, they got everything calculated because they don't care. You know, these guys are trying to make as much money as they can. So let's say it's the brokers are ripping us off, right? Okay, or the shippers are trying to get a better deal. So if it's the shippers or the big companies, they're basically trying to get a minimum wage employee and avoid all the expenses and all the liability, because we're taking all of the liability and we're taking care of all the expenses, and they're getting a driver for like less than minimum wage basically. And you still got to remember, you still got to pay all your maintenance, you got to pay everything, your liability insurance, your diesel, you still got to support your family. You know, running a truck is a very expensive business, and you shouldn't cut yourself short, because these guys don't give a shit. You know, if they're gonna take 50% of the commission, then they might as well pay 50% of the diesel and 50% of your liability insurance. So where was I at? Sorry, I had to dump some stuff. I gotta figure my way out of here. It's not like this. But you know, if the brokers or the shippers and all those people, they want you to spend, you know, basically you're spending all your liability, you have all the liability, you have all the costs, all that falls on you, you know, and they're getting that basically for free, because, you know, the cost to run a semi truck, like I said, is very expensive. So that's why I said, you know, if they want half the rate of the rate con, then they could actually pay half the diesel and half of everything else, right? Because other than that, you're not going to be left with nothing. So, I mean, people really have to think about that. You know, we have, as us owner-operators, you know, the brokers aren't the one that have the power, you know. That's why everybody shouldn't get desperate. And I'm going to be doing this one in Spanish. My Spanish isn't that great, but, you know, everybody will get the hint. But, you know, well, I kind of lost from that. But, you know, basically for them to get, you know, half the rate con, that's bullshit. You know, because owner operators, even the truck drivers, you know, they know what we go through, but as an owner operator, it's just a lot more. It's you know, you're going through a lot more, because you have all the expenses and everything else that goes along with it. You know, you're driving, you're taking chances of, you know, getting in a horrible accident, you know, getting killed or killing a lot of people. Why the broker's right there, safe in his little office, you know, in air conditioning or with a heater, while you're, you know, having to sit there and at a truck stop, you know, and sleep overnight and be away from your family. And you're not getting paid for that as an owner operator. You know, even as a truck driver, you know, you're gonna get like a layover fee. You know, I don't know, they give you like 45, 50 bucks, 28 bucks, depending on the company. Or you gotta pay for your showers, that's expensive, everything. You know? I mean, you got so much stuff that goes on with the owner operator, the expenses, that you can't let the brokers or the shippers, because the companies, those big corporations, the first thing they're going to think of doing is, you know, making the money. Remember, they have the brains, they have everything calculated. So if it doesn't make sense for them to send a truck, you know, to A to B, and they could get it from an owner operator for pretty much, you know, for nothing, then they're going to do it, because it's going to cost them the same with diesel, you know, but they got to pay the employee,
They got to pay the workman's comp. They got to pay everything else that comes with having an employee, plus the diesel, plus the maintenance, just like we got to deal with. You know, if you don't have an employee, you know, and if you do have an employee, then you're looking at the same picture, but you're just making that a lot less. You're making a lot less money, and you're having to deal with all that. So if their plan is to shut down all the owner operators, that's going to happen, because all the guys that are taking the low rates, good luck keeping up with the maintenance. Good luck keeping up with all that insurance that's going to start coming up, because all those accidents that are happening, that's going to give them an excuse to raise your insurance. You know, my insurance is expensive as hell, and I've been driving for 23 years, and I have 0 accidents, at-fault accidents, as a truck driver. You know, so I mean, you got to look at that picture. You look at those big trucking channels. I don't want to mention their name either. You know, well, maybe I can. If they want to go at me, then that's fine. You look at Asian My Trucking Show and Bonehead Truckers. You know, American Truck Drivers. You look at those guys, and they're showing these bad accidents. You know, and they're showing the type of stuff that goes at risk at being a truck driver, especially in those harsh weather conditions. You know, they don't know what it's like to sit out in the snow and chain up and deal with the snowstorm, high winds. You know, they're gonna send you on a low rate to go through all that, or in a high wind situation, getting your trailer tipped over. You know, and not only that, you know, they have appointment times. They want it from A to B. They want you to pick up that same day, you know, and they basically want it delivered most likely the next day, if it's within so many hundreds of miles, unless it's basically going to across the country, which they're basically expecting you to do the same thing, you know. So you have to look at that. If it was a big company, a big shipping company that deals with a lot of freight, they're not going to do it that same day for that low rate like that. And they're not going to even do it that within those couple days for that low rate. They're going to charge way more, because they're not stupid, and those companies are paying them that. You know, for example, let's say they call me to go to Los Angeles to Phoenix. Before, it would be like $1,400, because you don't get nothing coming back. They'll try to load you up 45,000 pounds for $250 to come back. You know, and if you try to go to Texas, basically you're going to be driving to, making money just for the diesel. You know, so that's the way it is now. But people are still taking those loads. But anyways, for you to take that load from Los Angeles with a big shipping company, because I do shipping quotes on them, okay, they're going to want that picked up that same day and delivered basically the next day. Those big shipping companies, they're going to charge like around for a full truckload. This is a full truckload, not a LTL. They're going to charge $11,000-$12,000. Okay, for an owner operator, they're going to try to get you at first $600, then they're going to go up to $700, $900, $1,100. And then they're basically cutting it off there. Well, it's going to cost you, $300, let's say $350 to go there with a full heavy 44,000 truckload. It might cost you $400, because the diesel isn't as, it's not as efficient as when you have a heavy ass load, or you're going uphill. You're going to waste a lot of diesel. So basically, you're cutting your rate almost in half. Okay, you're not including maintenance, which you're wearing out your tires. If you have a blowout, you're screwed. Oil changes, everything else that goes along with it. You blow your motor, you're screwed, or you have something heavy that goes wrong, that's you got to get towed, you're totally screwed. You're in debt for and that's the thing about taking those low rates. You can't put away money for that maintenance part or for all that other stuff. You shouldn't have to work for free, and that's basically what they're trying to do. And then let's say for them, to get that one day, and they're going over there, they're charging, let's say $11,000, $12,000 to go there that one day for a one-day delivery, right? Okay, these are big shipping companies, and like I said, they're cutting us short with that rate I mentioned. You know, they could start off at 600, 700. You know, the furthest I seen them go now is 1100. You know, try to come back with a delivery from Arizona that's going to be profitable. You won't even make money to pay your diesel. You know, you're going to be sitting there at the truck stop for a couple days if you're lucky, because there's no loads coming out. You try to go to Texas, basically, you know, like I said, you're going to be paying for your diesel. You know, so it doesn't make sense to do all that. But they're doing all this on purpose. So why should the brokers and the shippers be making out, and the owner-operators, they're going to be driven to go bankrupt or out of business? And that's exactly what the broker told me. He warned me, you know. And he said, I know it's planned, because you know what? Because he basically told me that. He said, hey, you know what? They were in a meeting, and basically they said that, you know what? A lot of you guys are going to start going bankrupt and going out of business. And within a couple weeks, like 2 weeks, those rates were cut in half. You know, but he's kind of scared right now. He don't want to mention anything. It was all done on purpose. Even if there's no loads, you got to remember California has the most loads going out. You know, so California is not dead. We have all the power. I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm not gonna make sense again because I had to go pay and I'm kind of tired. I was working late last night. So, but anyways, that broker had warned me, you know, and within those 2 weeks they cut the rates. So in California, like I'm coming out of California. California isn't a bad place to be. Remember, it could have been its own state. I mean, its own country. You know, so you know, we have all the power. You know, even the big companies have power, big corporations. But us as owner operators, without those brokers, those big brokers, you know, like for example, TQL, man, they lowered they gave you the lowest rates possible. C.H. Robinson was great before. Now their rates are lower than hell. You know, Uber also. You know, Amazon also. Amazon, I mean, is probably one of the people that started it, because their rates were lower than hell. I mean, that's why I didn't even deliver for them, because those rates were basically paying for your diesel. You're lucky if you make $150 or $100, or if you even make a profit. You know, and that's not even, you know, including maintenance and all that other stuff. So you got to remember, all these guys are calculated. They know what they're doing. You know, so that's why whoever, you know, if you listen to this video, you gotta, you know, I haven't took loads out for like 2 months, 2.5 months, because I'm not gonna take a low paying load, and I'm hurting right now. I have mortgages. I have multiple mortgages. Sorry, my camera got kind of hot. I guess it turned off automatically. But like I said, I have mortgages too, and I haven't took out loads for, you know, the last load I took out was might have been right at the 1st of January. But they offered me a okay rate. It was all right. It wasn't bad. So we have all the power. You know, they might have the loads, but without trucks, they can't deliver anything. You know, and people got to stop being so desperate and taking those low rates, because what are you gonna do? You're gonna refinance your house. You're gonna go into debt, you know, max out your credit cards, you know, all because the filthy brokers and the shippers that want to make you pay for everything. You know, you're gonna go do all that for them and put your family in jeopardy, your home, and everything else. You know, we're in this business, you know, because it's a business, to be our own boss. To, you know, when you decide to be an owner operator, it's probably for various reasons. Everybody has their own reason, you know, because you want to be your own boss, you want to have your own schedule, you know, you want to actually make money so you can put money away, because when you're 9 to 5, it's very hard to do that, you know, or you got to work like a slave. I mean, you're working like 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, you know. So I mean, if you think about it, being an owner operator could be very rewarding, but if you're going to take those low rates, you know, you're screwing yourself, you're screwing everybody. Not only that, you're screwing your family if you have a family, you know, because you're not going to be able to put away money for their college. You know, my son's going to college right now and it costs a fortune. So you're not going to be able to do all that, you know. Remember, not only do you have those high expenses of your operating your trucking business, but you also have your family, you have your mortgage, you have your bills at home. Those brokers, those shippers, they don't give a shit about that. And you got to think about that. Really think about that. Because they're not going to, you know, they don't give a shit. They're going to wear you out, and when you go out of business, they're just going to move on to the next guy. You know, they're not going to be like, oh, thank you for doing all that. Thank you for going, maxing out your credit cards and going bankrupt and, you know, and buying them a new fucking car, a new house, you know, when they could have done that the whole time being a broker, because they could just work with a bunch of truck drivers instead of trying to rip them off. Because they're not, you know what, as a broker, from what I was reading, and don't quote me on this because I could be wrong, but just like as a real estate broker, because I'm a real estate broker also, but I just really don't feel the need to be ripping people off, making them buy expensive ass houses, getting high mortgages, you know, when the market is the way it is. You know, I mean, that's just me. You know, I don't want them to come back later and say, hey, you sold me this house that's worth $1 million, that is now worth, you know, $200,000 or $300,000. So they're gonna let it go because of that, and they're pointing the finger at you, you know. So I'd rather not do all that. I never really was too interested in doing that. But as a broker, you have a fiduciary duty, you know, to basically, they have to watch out, but it's not as complicated as real estate. But they have to they basically have to watch out for the broker. I mean, for the owner operator, the carrier, and they have to watch out for the shipper. Okay, so if they're looking out for the owner operator, the carrier, they're not doing that at all, because they're not looking at all your expenses. You know, just with you know, insurance, you know, that could be from, you know, $1,400 to $2,000, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 if you're getting a new truck, you know, and then your diesel, you know, that could be, you know, who knows, another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000, you know, depending on where you're going. You know, then you got your tires, then you got your maintenance, then you got everything else that goes along with it. And see, I've been doing my own maintenance. I've been fixing everything, my shocks, everything else by myself. I've been doing all the airlines by myself, because right now I can't afford to pay somebody, you know. So that's the thing. You really have to think about who you're hurting. You know, when you're taking that load and you're getting desperate, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting other carriers, you know, and you're helping that broker or that shitty shipper, that shitty broker. Because if they're doing that to you, they're shitty. They're shitty people, dude. You know, they're not supposed to be making 50%, 30%, 20% commission, because they're not paying the expenses that you have to pay. They don't give a shit. You know? Now, could a person, you know, or could a car roll without no wheels? Could it go without its axles? You know? Could a person walk without legs? You see, that's what you have to do to the brokers. Without us carriers, you know, and it's not going to take long. So the guys that are all scared and they're like, oh my God, you know, I'm going to lose this and lose that. It's not going to take long. If we all stick together, you know what? They're not going to be able to do that, because what are they going to do? Load up that big 44,000 pound shipment in their car? No, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to take it across the country. See, we have the power. They have the loads, but we have the actual power. We're moving the cargo. We're loading the cargo. We're carrying the cargo. We're taking all the risk. We're risking our life. We're putting other people's lives at risk. All that stuff comes into account with being an owner-operator. Or even a big company, but they just have a lot more money than us. you have to think about all that. Do you really want to give them all that, and you're taking all those risks for nothing? You know, we have a lot of those coming out of California right now. You know, the other states shouldn't be bragging that they're better than us, or I know everybody's hurting right now. I'm not going to say that, but everybody's hurting, because I can see it. But a lot of the brokers are telling me, you know, oh, well, this state's doing better than that state, or this state's, but basically from what I see, that, you know, everybody's hurting right now. So I take that back. But you know what? To be honest, that's all we got to do is hold out. I've been holding out for a while already. What, 2.5 months? And trust me, I'm fucking hurting. You know? But it wouldn't even take that long. And if everybody were to stick together, you know, like Amazon, you know, they're richer than hell. They're taking over the world. You know, you got these big carriers, these big time brokers. They're totally taking advantage of people because they don't do their homework. You know, you could go work at a regular truck driving job and make more what you're doing as an owner operator, and have benefits for your family, have a pension at some companies, and be well off. You know, but if you're gonna try to be an owner operator and provide benefits for your family, good luck. You know, it costs a fortune, and all of you know that. So why do that? It wouldn't take long. All we got to do is shut them down. Don't take those loads. If they're fucking cutting you short, don't take those loads. If they're offering you, you know, 150 a mile, 180 a mile, 250 a mile, to even go like 300 miles, 400 miles, you know what? Don't do it. Because remember, just in diesel, that's going to be around $1 a mile. And you guys know what I'm talking about when you're filling up your tanks. You know, you might get discounts from fuel cards, but when you put biodiesel, like California has a lot of biodiesel, when you put biodiesel and you're loaded up, that shit ain't gonna last you not even, you know, you're gonna probably do like, with loaded up, you're gonna probably do like 3 miles a gallon, maybe 2 miles a gallon going uphill, you know? So really think about that, you know, because these guys are really gonna make us hurt. We're gonna start going out of business, and I'm trying to hold off right now. You know, and it's not that easy to get a job either when you're an older guy. So that's the thing. We have to defend ourselves. Because remember, without all this retail, without all this food, without everything else, these guys can't stay in business also. So we have to cut them off. If they're not willing to pay us, then fuck them. You know, because let me tell you something. You know, if you're gonna let these guys do that, then why even stay in business? You know, like, these aren't, we didn't have COVID rates. COVID rates have been gone a long time. You know, so COVID rates were like for a little amount of time. You know, they've been gone for a while already. So what they're trying to do, it's not right. You know, sorry if I'm kind of jumping around, but I'm kind of trying to do this because I got to do some other stuff later on. And this is my first one, so, you know, it is what it is, you know. I'll probably get like trolls or whatever. Usually the trolls, I think the trolls are probably like company drivers. You know, because I get a lot of company drivers trying to tell me what to do, or they know this, they know it all. But at the end of the day, they don't have to pay their fuel card bill every Thursday or every Friday. You know, it just comes right out of your bank account. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're paying with the fuel card. You know, they don't ask you if it's okay, they just take it out. You know, the insurance, if you don't pay your insurance, well, you know, they're going to cancel on you. Your registration, you know, everything else that comes along with that, your maintenance, you know, they don't know what's going on. You know, they're just guessing. You know, they're riding with the company, and most likely they just have no idea until they get into it, kind of just like I did. You know, but we have the power, man. You know, and like I said, I'm going to be doing this in Spanish. And I'm kind of new with all this editing stuff and all that, so I can't really, you know, get into it too much. But you know, I worked for companies for a long time. I never called in sick, nothing. You know, no accidents. They target you though. You know, some companies are shitty. You know, I worked myself. You know, basically, you know, so where I had cancer, I go through chemotherapy. You know, then my life just literally started going down the drain. You know, I got my own truck, and it was all right at first, but like I said, when that guy warned me, those rates just shot down. It was 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, those rates went down the tubes. You know. So you got a company like Ralph's. You know, they pay like 31 plus an hour. Not only that, okay, you got pension. They pay like $5 an hour, you know, for your pension. They give you benefits. I don't even think you have to pay that much for your benefits. You get all the overtime not all the overtime you want, but they work the hell out of you, just like all those other companies, Albertsons and all that. You're gonna make over 100 and some grand a year if you could hang. You know, taxes, they're gonna tax the shit out of you, but you're gonna have a pension at the end of the day. But what is it worth if you work yourself to where your health goes down the tubes and you can't even enjoy your pension because you're gonna die? You know, and they don't even appreciate it. They'll just get rid of you that next second. You're just a number. You know. So you got these gas companies that pay. Some guy was telling me some of them pay like $33, $38 an hour. You know, hauling fuel. As an owner-operator right now, you're not even close to making any of that. You're making minimum wage, and you're owning your own truck, and you're dealing with all that stress, that liability, and you're gonna let these shitty brokers and shitty shippers do that to you? You know? Some guy sitting in AC, stressing out because he's trying to make half your rate off your rate con. You know? And another thing is, some guy was telling me, like, you know, I'm not gonna mention any races or anything like that because I'm not prejudiced. You know, I'm like of Hispanic descent. I'm actually, well, European, Hispanic, and all that mixed. But anyways, you know, some guy was telling me they're not even showing him the rate con. You know, they just direct deposit it into his account. So he doesn't know what, like a lot of these dispatchers too, because they call you like crazy. They might be, you know, ripping you off on your rate because they're direct depositing it, which I think is probably illegal because they're not even a broker. They're just direct depositing it into your account, but they're not giving you a rate con. And one of those guys called me and I says, well, I need a rate con. And they didn't want to give it to me. Oh no, we direct deposit it into your account. Well, no. You know what? I need that rate con. You know? I guess you get a bill of lading, but that doesn't show anything on it. You know? You need that rate con. So, a lot of these guys, they're ripping you off. You know, they shouldn't be making 50% of your, or 30% or 20% of your rate because remember, you're not getting that whole rate. You got to pay diesel and everything else that comes along with it. You know, you got to be out there. You got to pick up that shipment. So let's say it takes you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get there, right? Or let's say an hour. Let's just talk like, you know, let's go at it with, you know, what I've been dealing with, which I, you know, let's say it takes you an hour to get there to your shipper. They already know that you got 2 hours free. That they're not gonna have to pay you detention. So basically, some of them you're gonna be there 2.5 hours because they're not gonna want to pay you for 2.5 hours. You know, so they know they're gonna try to hold you there as long as they can. So then that's 3.5 hours, right? So then you go and you're gonna go to your delivery. It could be 7, 8, 10 hours away, right? So let's say 13, or whatever. You add all that up. Then you go to the shipper, right? I mean the receiver. He could have either 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe overnight. But if you add all that up, it's just not going to add up. And if he has you there 2 hours, you'd be there 2 hours for free. Then you got to go look for that. You're going to be running out of hours by then, depending on what time you leave. You're going to be out of hours. You have to use your personal conveyance, risk your ass right there with the highway patrol, putting you out of service. You got to look for a truck stop, or you got to sleep in a certain place, and then they don't want you to park anywhere. You add up all those hours, and then you kind of add up, hey, you know what? I know they say it doesn't count, but add up the time at the truck stop, the 10 hours you got to take off because you're away from your family. Add that time up. You're going to easily, add up to 40 hours, 30, 40 hours, 25. You divide all that into what you're getting, what you're profiting, you're not making shit. And then let's say you want to make money, on the way back. There's no loads coming on the way back. They're not going to pay you shit. Like the ones from Vegas, they want to load you up 46,000 pounds, which you're probably overweight right there because you have a sleeper. They want to pay you like 200, 300 bucks, 400 bucks, and people are taking them. Remember, you got to sit there you're destroying your trailer floor with those weights. Your truck's going through a bunch of hell, your engine's going through a bunch of hell. You got to go to the shipper, you got to wait there, then you got to go to the receiver. You're basically working for free, and that broker's just taking all that money. For what? He's right there in AC. He's not right there in the desert in the summertime. You have to keep your truck idling, or I use a generator, and I use an AC. I put an AC in my truck, and I use a generator. In the winter, you're gonna keep your truck idling all night. You really have to think about it. All these guys, they're pieces of shits that are doing that to you. They're no good. Like I said, if you look at those channels, Mother Trucker, Bonehead Truckers, American Truck Drivers, you're gonna see all those accidents, those weather conditions, all those things that truck drivers go through. Like Bonehead Truck Drivers, he tries to make fun of people, but in reality, if you look at it, you can learn a lot from that channel. You can learn a lot from all that stuff. You can see that all that stuff that all these truck drivers are going through, and they don't want to pay you shit. Why they're sitting there in their office, nice and safe. Nothing's happening to them. They're not risking a breakdown or getting a $10,000-$20,000 tow bill, plus getting getting asked out by the towing company, by the mechanics, because they know you're desperate. They know you need to keep your truck moving, so they're going to charge you as much as possible because nobody wants to work for free either. So think about that. And I'm going to talk in Spanish real quick so you guys get a load of my Spanish. I don't talk Spanish very well, but you know what? Para todos que hablen español, que no hablen inglés, tienes que hablar con los otros choferes, porque los brokers van a fregar. No van a tener nada de dinero para pagar nada. Ellos están chingando. Pero yo creo yo voy a tener que agarrar a alguien, a una otra persona para hablar español. Mi esposa o no sé, alguien otro. Pero tú tienes que ver cómo ellos están fregando y no debes llevar esos cargos que no están pagando. Si todos los choferes juntamos y no lleven esos cargos que no están pagando nada, ellos van a tener que pagar más. Porque tienes que entender, si ellos no tienen choferes, si no tienen trocas, si no tienen trailers, ellos no pueden mover nada. Y tienes que entender eso. Tienes que pagar todo, que la seguranza, el diesel y todo. ¿Y cómo vas a hacer eso? Y el maintenance, ¿cómo vas a hacer eso si vas a llevar esos cargos que no paguen nada? No hagan pendejos como mi abuelita me dijo. Pendejo. Si vas a llevar esos cargos, tú eres un pendejo. Porque estás dejando a ellos chingar a tú. Tienes que tener huevos. Yo ya tengo 2 meses y medio que no llevo un cargo porque no me están pagando nada. Yo tengo que pagar mis casas. Tengo otros casas, tengo más de un casa. Tengo otras casas. Mi hijo él se va al colegio, college, university. Yo tengo mis biles, mi seguranza. Todo eso yo tengo que pagar. Pero, ¿tú crees que el broker es bien que él está ganando medio, 30 o 20% que tú estás ganando para llevar un cargo cuando él no está pagando nada de tus expenses, tu diesel, tu seguranza, tu maintenance? Él no está pagando todo eso. No está pagando para regar la piso de tu trailer cuando ellos freguen tu trailer porque están poniendo mucho peso con esos forklifts y la agua, todo esos pesos que ponen. No van a pagar cuando tú vas a dar service y tienes que pagar mucho dinero para arreglarlo. So, tienes que pensar eso. Tienes que pasar ese mensaje a todos los troqueros o owner operators que no lleven los cargos baratos. No hagas pendejo. Tienes huevos. Porque vas a fregar todos. Tienes que hacer tus números. Pero si no vas a hacer tus números y vas a tener confianza con todos esos güeyes, ellos nomás quieren fregarte. Ellos no están buenos, gente. So, nomás voy a dejarlo así ahorita. Pero voy a hacerlo uno en español. No sé si voy a agarrar una mujer con unos para agarrar tu atención. Porque mire, la cosa es que tienes que pensar en tú y tu familia. Y todo que tú tienes que pagar. No del broker. Ellos nomás están fregándote. California tiene los más loads de todos. So tienes que ver eso. So pase ese mensaje. Que no lleven esos cargos baratos. Basically, I was just saying the same thing. But for them not to take the loads, and I'm encouraging everybody that is taking those low-paying loads, don't take them. It's not going to take long for us to just, put them on freeze. If that shit ain't moving, they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay us, I mean, we were making okay money a couple months ago. It wasn't that great, but we could at least pay the bills. Now they're making it impossible, So you really have to think about that, And I was telling them, like I said, my grandma, I don't know what it means in English, pendejo. You get the idea. A lot of you guys, a lot of times my grandma wasn't very nice to me, when I was a little kid. I mean, she would be almost at night. But she was a great woman, though. But she would say pendejo. I don't know if it means like an idiot or whatever. You know what? Do your homework. Do your homework. Don't take those loads. Don't be stupid. Because we're cutting. Not only are you hurting yourself, you're hurting your family. So remember, they cannot take these loads out without us. And if they want to pay more, they're gonna have to go to the big freight carriers. But they don't have the manpower. So think about it. If we could just stop them, if they don't want to pay, don't take it. Simple as that.